everybody is born with a little something extra, and sometimes they just have to find it. A little something extra is that superpower that every single one of us has inside that motivates us and drives our passion and makes us do the things that we do.
We're all on the same team. Let's think about how we can make that team as inclusive as we can.
For those of you listening to our podcast right now, you can also check out our video podcast at alittlesomethingextrapodcast.org.
Welcome back, everybody. We are very excited to have another episode of A Little Something Extra with my daughter.
The DJ of this Playhouse.
And who else is with us?
The Franco.
The Franco.
In the flesh.
In the flesh.
He
Now
is
we
here.
find, look at you. You've got the in front of you. Am I the mommy?
No.
Oh, see, she
We'll
just has
change
to
her
knock me
Instagram
down.
handle and everything. Individualized to her.
she has
We're here
to-
with the Lauren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yes. Maybe our guest will get up the in front of her name. So, Franco, you want to lead us in?
Yes.
Thank
I
you.
will kick us off. So I'm going to read a quick bio, but I think we're going to learn the most through our conversation.
Yes,
with Lauren
totally. I'm
today.
very excited to get started.
So we are so excited to welcome Lauren Costabile, the founder and executive director of Hearts of Joy International, to A Little Something Extra podcast. So the Hearts of Joy International is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing life-changing heart surgeries for children with Down syndrome around the world. And they also offer educational resources, counseling, and advocacy for families. So Lauren launched this initiative back in 2019 after witnessing the profound need for medical care and support for children with congenital heart defects, particularly in underserved communities around the world. And I believe Uganda was the first place that she really witnessed that in.
Wow.
So after years of being a volunteer at GiGi Playhouse New York, which is absolutely incredible, she became an advocate for the Down syndrome community prior to the development of Hearts of Joy International. Since it was founded, it had over 130 life-saving surgeries globally, including in countries like the Philippines, India, Mexico, and Uganda. So their focus centers on, in the U.S., it often centers around raising awareness, advocacy, and collaboration with existing medical resources. So we're super, super, super excited to talk with you, Lauren. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. This is awesome.
Excited.
You've created an incredible thing. I mean, I've always been so curious because with individuals with Down syndrome, I think it's around 50% of people with Down syndrome do have heart issues. So I've always wondered, like on a global scale, what does that look like, and how are we able to, be able to provide those life-saving treatments? And obviously, you're out there helping and doing that. So can you tell us a little bit how this journey began?
Yeah, so it actually started when I was 17. I volunteered at a camp for children and adults with disabilities. And I always say that's where, the seed was planted in my own heart of this community. Crazy that I didn't really have much experience or awareness before that, or exposure, I would say, because I don't have anyone in my family or anything like that. And that really just opened me up to like how amazing this community is, in particular the Down syndrome community. I was like, how did I not know this?
Yeah. Now, in your school, when you were in high school, you didn't have kids with special needs really in your school?
No.
I know. And that's what people don't really understand, that to this day, there
Yeah.
not that exposure.
just
And that
isn't there.
exposure leads to acceptance, as you're saying.
Absolutely.
So, wow.
Yeah. So I was introduced to that and I was like, this is amazing. And yeah, that's where the seed was planted in my own heart. Also where I learned about the heart defect, that 50% of our population is affected with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying these were adults that had these huge scars on their chest and they're running around, they're doing all these things. You would have never known unless you could see that. And that's what sparked the curiosity in me. And that's where I learned, oh, wow, they have this heart defect, or they're very prevalent to this. But I also learned in the States, you get that operation when you're 6 months to a year, no problem. The access to care is available and these kids can live a long and healthy life.
Yeah.
And so, I was very curious about this community. So I studied recreational therapy in college, which is music, dance, art, music therapy. I say all the fun stuff, which is, it was really fun. And then I worked at an adult day program for a bit. I volunteered at GiGi's for a few years in New York City. And then in 2017, I went to Uganda for the very first time. And again, that curiosity got the best of me. And I was like, I wonder how people with Down syndrome are treated in a country like Uganda.
Yeah.
And so I connected with the local community there, visited about 10 to 15 children in their homes. And that's where I met this little baby who was 6 months old, who had a heart defect and needed surgery. And I just knew that, I could raise the money here, that I had the community support, that I had resources, that we could help her. And
Yeah.
I really felt called to do that. I didn't really fully understand the full capacity of it until I just continued the process. But I started a GoFundMe. I raised money for her and another child to get the operation. And I learned that the healthcare system in a country like Uganda is very broken. And so because
Oh,
of
for
the
sure.
stigma
Mhm.
and prejudice against children with disabilities, in particular Down syndrome, they were taken off of the list of the hospital once they realized that. And also the complexity of these defects make it difficult to operate there. And so we ended up in a hospital in India. And that's where I learned, wow, it's really amazing that they have this care available for them in a country like India.
Yeah.
And then the younger baby got the operation. She turned 1 year old. That's how much time it took me to fundraise and all
Right.
these things. And then we had another baby who was 2.5. And unfortunately, they told me she's inoperable, meaning it was too late
Mhm.
and she will not live past her 10th birthday. That's what they told me. And so
It's heartbreaking.
that devastated me. And I said, I can't go on with my life knowing that this need exists in the world and doing nothing about it. And so that's really where the inspiration began. And I said, I
Yeah.
have to do something and create this community, education, awareness,
Totally.
because that all leads to being able to have this action.
Change. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
I mean, it's an amazing, amazing thing that you took upon yourself to do, because I would
Mm.
imagine. I mean, what's so crazy is we don't even know the real number of people born with Down syndrome every year in the world.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
in some of these countries where there isn't any of the resources like we have here, especially in countries throughout
Sure.
Africa and throughout Asia, South America, there really truly is no idea. But how much would it cost in those countries as compared to the United States in order to get that surgery performed?
Yeah. So a treatment, like a complete cardiac treatment for one of our patients, is $10,000, but that includes the surgery, plus
Wow.
passports and visas and medical exams, transportation, accommodation. We say that's a whole package.
Wow.
Because it's not just the surgical intervention, it's a lot of other steps that we need to take in order to send a child from Uganda to India. We also send children from the Philippines to India. It's our main hospitals in India.
Wow.
And then we have several hospitals throughout the Philippines that can do some of the operations. There's about 5 defects that affect our population, and they vary in complexity. They
Sure.
also vary in ways that they can treat it through
Yeah.
the surgical intervention and the level of that, whether that's open heart or a less invasive procedure. So it varies, but for the most part, we are sending children all the time around
Yeah.
the world.
That is awesome.
That is
Yeah.
Is I would say the most common would be the holes in the heart?
Yeah, so they're all a hole in the heart, whether that's one or multiple, and the
Yeah.
area of the heart where that hole is. So actually, AV canal is one of the most common, which is a hole in the middle of all
But
the
doesn't
chain.
the AV canal require multiple surgeries, whereas the ASD and the VSD are that's really closing them? And then I thought that other one was multiple surgeries.
Sometimes we've had little babies, if they're between 4 to 6 months. Every child is different and unique, but we've had some children where they get the AV canal repaired and that's it, one and done. And we've had others where it's like a 3-step process. So
Yeah.
they need one surgery, then a next. And then some of our patients have had pacemakers implanted. So
Sure.
a few years we have to replace them. So it depends. But I think too, what sets Hearts of Joy apart is that we are so dedicated to like this child's life and bettering that child's life. So if they require more than one surgery, we're
You'll be
going to
back for
cover
them.
that
Sure.
throughout their lifespan.
Yeah.
And we just like care and love these kids so much and their families. And yeah, so we support them through the
Incredible.
entire journey,
Yes.
whether that's one surgery, which a lot of the time it is
Sure.
just one,
Yeah.
or multiple.
Gigi's was one. Yeah, Gigi had
Yeah.
2 holes. She had the ASD and the VSD. So she, at 4 months, she had her surgery. So she's got, she's got her her war wounds right here, right. It was funny when she was little. One of the Gigi's programs, a 2 and under program we had, that was a bunch of infants that would come to the Playhouse, and one morning, it was a Saturday morning, we had about 12 2 and unders that were at the Playhouse, and I think it was 9 or 10 of them all had the scar.
Yeah.
So there they
Yeah.
were, our little warriors. We were like so
Aw.
strong. They're so amazing. And what a gift from God. We take it for granted that we live in a country that we are able to get these surgeries,
Yeah.
and that they're able to, be able to go in there and close them. And I remember, like, when Gigi had it, I remember that morning I was obviously, open heart surgery. Your daughter's 4 months old. She's not even 10 pounds. And you're worried about this. And then you think about it. It's another day at work for these brilliant surgeons. I mean, this is what they do every single day, is they have this little tiny heart in their hands and they fix it. So the fact that you're helping this happen worldwide, globally, is really a gift from God, because that's, like you said, when Gigi was having hers, I remember that I was talking to some doctors. They said, 20 years ago, for surgeries like this, we couldn't do it, or maybe 30 years ago, because now she's 20.
No,
They
22.
22, sorry. They couldn't do it. They said, but so when they were at like 2 years old, by the time they were old enough and big enough to be able to do the surgery, they said we'd be waving to them, and then we'd all turn around and cry because we knew they weren't going to make it through the surgery.
Jesus.
Yeah. Terrible. I heard so grateful that even 22 years ago, when she had her surgery done, that we are at a place in technology to be able to fix it. And now, where we're at now, and the fact it's getting done, and you're helping people in other countries, is just really amazing. Really amazing, because it is hard, that the diagnosis in those other countries, even when you were talking about Africa, they were talking about, I had some people telling us that, like, a lot of times they think that, when you have a child with a disability, it's voodoo. They put the baby under a tree to go, to die and go back to God, go back into the soil from which it was formed. Like, they don't understand it. So the fact that you're out there advocating and helping these kids is really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, did you see any of that when you were in Africa? Like, any of this, the misunderstanding behind the diagnosis and what disabilities really are?
Yeah, I think every country, like I said, is different and unique because of cultural reasons. But so we work in Uganda, India, Mexico, and the Philippines, and they're all very different. But the similarity is that, that lack of resources and misunderstanding of the diagnosis. And so we combat that through education, in saying, actually, this child is not a curse or a burden, but this is the scientific reason why. It's actually an added chromosome. And we explain that. And I mean, it's one of my favorite part of the job, is seeing that shift in the heart of a parent, because any parent loves their child. It's inherent. It's in your heart. You love your child more than anything. And so people are really seeking truth. And so when we tell them, it's almost like a relief, because culture tells you just abandon, and child's going to do nothing. And we come in with the truth, but it's not even enough to just educate and then do nothing. But not only are we educating, but we're taking their hand and we're walking alongside them. We're supporting the surgery. We're doing emotional support. We're educating. We're providing all of these resources that don't exist.
Yeah.
And so it's the absolute best when a parent goes from being completely hopeless, not really understanding, to fully loving that child in the greatest capacity, because they were educated and they know they're no longer alone. We're there with them. And now we have like a community of these, because we've helped so many kids. We have this community that we've built in all these countries. So even if someone lives on the west side of Uganda, we'll connect them with someone on the east side. And it's really so beautiful. And, I always say, I don't know if we'll see it in our lifetime, but I see the stigma like shifting, and it's through education.
Well, exposure.
Yeah.
Like you said, exposure. You didn't know anybody until you went to a camp for kids with disability. You didn't see them in school. You didn't see them in high school. And it wasn't until you went to a place where they were that you were able to open up your heart. And then look what that led to.
Yeah. Well, and think about it for parents too. Like when you are a parent in Mexico or in India, and your only exposure that you've ever seen to Down syndrome is this low expectation that you're given from the start. When the doctor's telling you, you know, you should, whether it's aborting or abandoning or just not setting any expectation for what that child should be, then that's what these families are going to just expect. And, you know, through that education that you guys are doing and the exposure of being able to see like your child can do all these different things, you just have to know that they can do it. And you have to open the opportunities there. I could only imagine the amount of seismic changes that are happening in other parts of the world, because we're here and we're fortunately in such a lucky place in the United States. There's so much acceptance and understanding.
And yet there's not.
There's not, exactly. But you know, when you compare it to a global stage, I mean, you see that it's night and day.
Yeah.
And just to think of the shifts that could still happen on a global scale is really inspiring to think about. And I think that you're helping and leading that charge, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think we can always grow. And I think like we're really blessed in the US that we have so much representation in the media. People with Down syndrome, you know, owning their own businesses or being artists or actors, or they're writing books. Like we see that they're a valuable part of society. That is what lacks in a lot of these other countries. There's no example.
No opportunities.
There's no example. It's spot on.
And no jobs or things like that. So we love showing like videos and pictures to our parents of adults with Down syndrome in this country and what they're able to accomplish, because they always say that the mothers can't see the child beyond their lap because they don't know anything else.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to fill their mind with positive thoughts of, no, this is what they could do if we give them the chance. Like it's really amazing.
Right. Now, do you have translators down there? Like, how are you? You have translators that help
so we
you with
have
all that?
staff. We have like nurses and medical staff in every country, and they speak English as well as like the native tongue of the language of that country.
Wow. Okay, awesome.
That's really
All right,
cool.
G really wants to get to her questions.
I can hear her like shifting around over there because she's got her question.
All right.
How did you come up with the name?
So it's funny, when I was thinking about Down syndrome and people with Down syndrome, I'm like hearts of hope, love, and then joy just kept coming back to me because, and not to say everyone is happy at all times, but there is this supernatural spirit of joy that I have encountered with individuals with Down syndrome. And I just felt that it was very fitting for the organization. And I knew I wanted to call it something with hearts, and it just, I couldn't get it out of my head. I said, okay, it's Hearts of Joy.
I love it.
And I also feel that our job as staff is to bring joy into this difficult situation. Like you said, Nancy, like it's hard what these families go through. And as a mom, it rips your own heart out to see your child in that state, and to have to go through that is really difficult. And so we train all of our staff and we tell them, look, your job is to bring joy into the hospital room and to be that light for these families as well during these times.
Absolutely. That is awesome. I love it.
Where is Heart of Joy International?
Yeah, so Hearts of Joy works in Uganda, India, Mexico, the Philippines, and then we also work here in the States with women that get the prenatal diagnosis of Down syndrome and a heart defect. So pregnant women, helping to connect them to hospitals around the country, and also providing that emotional support, walking alongside them, and any other resources they may need during that time.
What do you like to do in your free time?
I like cooking. I love cooking, actually. I like watching movies, reading books. I know, I'm like, I almost never have free time. But when I do, I also love karaoke. They have so many karaoke bars in the Philippines, so we love doing that. Have you ever done karaoke?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Like
I
karaoke?
do.
What's your go-to song? What's your go-to song in karaoke?
It's your favorite music you like.
Baby Got Back?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I don't know where she gets that from.
It's you.
I gotta try that one.
Yes, that's my
And Fergalicious.
Fergalicious. Yeah, and Franco, Fergalicious. Franco's got the words down to
Fergalicious.
that one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one. What percentage of your time is spent in the Philippines or in these other areas?
Yeah, I'd say a few months out of the year, I'm I'm traveling. Yeah, because our team is there present with the families during the surgeries.
Yeah.
And that could be anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks at a time in a certain country. Because, when I started with the first two children, bringing them to India, I saw a lot of gaps in the system as well. I felt it wasn't enough to just sponsor and fund the operation. I really felt so passionate and strongly about being there with the families to support them,
Yeah.
whatever that means. Do you want a hug? Do you want me to pray for you? Do you want to take a walk? Do you want to do an activity? Specifically with the moms in the hospital, and further explaining what is going on so that everyone is fully understanding of all the medical needs of their child, that everything is translated in their own language. So we want them to fully understand what they're signing on to. And as a parent, again, you want to be able to fully know what's happening to your
Totally.
child.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't always happen in international hospitals. They sometimes give a diagnosis, and then they don't have Google, or they don't know what that is. So we're there to supplement that. And even though I can't even say that about the doctors we partner with in the hospitals, because they are so, so wonderful. But
Yeah.
you ask questions continually, and repetition is good, because then that's how something gets in your mind.
Right. Love it.
Repeating it and being there to support them.
Yeah.
So I travel a lot.
Yes.
You know, too.
We do travel a lot, but we're mostly in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do a lot
Right.
virtually. I mean, our virtual Playhouse serves families in 93 different countries. And we do
Amazing.
one-on-one tutoring on 6 different continents. So there's a lot going on. If there's, the thing
Wow.
is you have to have access to a computer. That's the problem in
Mhm.
some of these other countries is
Yeah.
that we're trying to
It's not
help
that easy.
with
Yeah.
is that they have to, they get so many hours or minutes of
Mm.
Wi-Fi and internet time
Mhm.
that they have to buy it in blocks or get it in blocks. So we're trying to figure out how we can help more of those families in those countries be able to
Mm.
have access to these programs, because they're game changers, and also have access, like
The
you were saying,
resources.
these families don't know any better. They don't know that they can do all this. They don't know that our kids can read and succeed and have a career and have, opportunities, and because they don't have any access to it. So that's something
Yeah.
really, really important for us that we want to do through our virtual Playhouse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
How do you guys get how can other people get involved with your guys' organization? Like, whether it's helping in providing resources or being able to help in funding, like, what are the different avenues people can go through?
Yeah, a lot of that information is on our website. So you could donate, you could dedicate your birthday to Hearts of Joy, run a marathon, things like that, as well as like following us on social media. We have an Amazon wish list. So every child that gets surgery, we give them a care package, which includes different things that they may need for the hospital, as well as like toys and coloring books and things like that. That's all on our Amazon wish list. And yeah, prayers. Please pray for us. That's a
Yeah.
way to get
Yes,
involved.
for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, everything is up on our website, which is heartsofjoyinternational.com.
Okay.
But I'm always amazed when people want to be involved, because I could like cry thinking about just how it's crazy the impact that we're having on these children's lives. And then, I know why God's called me to this work, and it's just such a gift. But when He calls other people into it, and I know you guys experience this with GiGi's, it's so overwhelming.
Totally.
So yeah, anyone can email us or reach out through the website. I would love to hear from, anyone who feels inspired or wants to know more.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I have one more question I want to ask before Gigi jumps
Sure.
into the last one. Sorry, Gigi. How do you guys do your selection process? I mean, there's so many families out there and so many people that need this help. Is there like inquiries that come in? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we partner with several different organizations, local hospitals, orphanages, just different groups in these countries, as well as all of our cardiac like doctors, like the
Yeah.
cardiologists and partners. A lot of our referrals come from there, as well as just word of mouth, or through our website you can apply. Social media, sometimes people find out and they apply. It's funny, I always thought I would need to be, like going into the villages and finding children. But the minute I established this, I mean, we've had a perpetual wait list
Yeah.
for the past
Wow.
6 years. So the need is is
That's there.
incredible.
Yeah.
It's growing. It's always there. And we are limited with resources and funding, but the more funding we have, the more children we can help and save, which is awesome. But the process is once someone applies, we have staff on the ground who go and assess the situation with the family. And then we have medical, doctors that assess them medically. And then it's reviewed by our board of doctors. So it's quite, it's a process.
It's a process for sure.
Absolutely. But as it should be. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. And some of them are traveling. So, getting the passports and all of that. And that takes several months sometimes to get through the whole process. And and then, so they're with us for like probably several months, like 6 to 7 months at that point between preparation, the surgery, and then post-op. And there's a whole program when they come back to, readjust back to their country. We have an orientation before they leave or go through the process with not only that child and the parents, but any other family members that would be involved in the child's care, just so they fully understand what's happening to the child so they can better support them, through the process and afterwards. And we're constantly in communication.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of information, lot that they're going to have to get. So that's amazing that you guys are with them every step of the way. That's really cool.
Yeah. We're very involved.
Yes.
If you had one message to the world, what would it be?
I think this might sound cliche, but in my experience, my message to the world would be like, love heals all. And not the superficial, like, oh, I love this or I love that, but really that true, like authentic, sacrificial love for the other. I've just learned that so deeply with this work of, it's one thing to say, hey, your child has Down syndrome and they're such a gift and a blessing. But it's another thing to love that mother or that family member that is really resisting and not understanding that and showing that through your actions and through your words. It really, really heals hearts. And I wish that everyone in the world, I think it would be such a brighter place if we all truly encountered each other in that manner.
That's awesome. Good answer. And now one more question and then we'll get on to your tips. All right?
Okay.
All right. So our podcast is called A Little Something Extra. What do you think is your little something extra that drives you to do what you do every single day?
Yeah, I think for me, I really think it's my faith. I mean, I believe that God called me to this work. And so there's a greater purpose to it all because it's hard. It's really difficult, with what we're doing and the fact that we're in so many countries. We're dealing with a lot of different things, medical things and translators and languages and lack of understanding. And the thing that pushes me through is really my faith, knowing that God has a greater plan for each of these children and their families, and we are an instrument being used for spreading that love and light. And also I wake up every morning in the spirit of gratitude. I think that that's key. And I would just encourage everyone, because even in those hard times, there's always something to be grateful for. And then in the good times, you're like, I'm grateful for everything.
Right.
It makes it that much better.
Absolutely.
And more filled with joy,
Yes. Oh, I love that. Love that. All right. So Gigi likes to give some tips. Gigi, do you want to give your tips?
Please.
Did you say tips?
I did say tips.
Tips! Here are my tips on being compassionate to others.
Oh, okay.
Be there to help and give support when they need it.
Be there and help give support. Yep.
Listen to them when they need someone to talk to. Put yourself in someone else's shoes to know how they're feeling.
Put yourself in someone else's shoes. Yep, of course.
Sometimes we don't need to tell them what to do. Just be there for them.
That's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Be patient. Always remember to treat people how you want to be treated.
Yes, the golden rule right there. Yep, Grandma taught us that forever.
Me and Gigi were going over earlier the difference between being nice and being compassionate. It was really nice.
Yeah.
And her just kind of learning that, because being nice is one thing, but being able to have that love and affection for another and just trying to help them in a time especially, and you're there. You're a perfect example of what compassion is, and being able to help a family when they need it most and being able to help guide them in the right direction and give them the words that they need to hear. It's really important,
It's
right?
so important. Well, you truly are a gift from God. I am so grateful for that day camp that you went to at 17 years old that lit that spark for you, because look how many lives have been changed and saved, actually saved lives. So that is amazing. If there's anything we can do at GiGi's to help, please let us know. Heartsofjoyinternational.com, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's, I mean, whether it's to donate, I mean, do you need volunteers, whatever it is, get
Thank
help
you.
with the wish list, whatever it is. You guys are doing awesome stuff. We're so grateful. However we can help, we want to help. And we're just grateful for all that you're doing and where God is taking you, and that you listened when he planted that seed. You didn't just let it lay there. You helped it to bloom. And we're so grateful for that.
Thank you so much. It was so nice talking with you all.
So nice
It
talking
was
with
good
you.
talking
Thank
to
you
too.
so much
Thank you for
being
sharing
there,
your story and
Lauren.
doing everything that you're doing. I mean, seriously,
you.
you're really, really helping change the lives of families all around the world. And I know
Thank
you know
you.
that, but it's an amazing thing.
It is.
Yeah, thank you.
Everybody is born with a little something extra, and sometimes they just have to find it. A little something extra is that superpower that every single one of us has inside that motivates us and drives our passion and makes us do the things that we do.
We're all on the same team. Let's think about how we can make that team as inclusive as we can.
For those of you listening to our podcast right now, you can also check out our video podcast at alittlesomethingextrapodcast.org.